Hey, Bulldog fans! Welcome to Inside the Huddle, the podcast that brings you the heart and soul of Rolla Bulldog high school sports.
All right, everyone, welcome to Inside the Huddle, brought to you by Romo Athletics and powered by our title sponsor, Phelps County Bank. Phelps County Bank, they're 100% employee-owned. They're 100% community champions. They are bankers by day. You know what they are by night? Bulldog fans.
Bulldog fans.
They are Bulldog fans by night. I appreciate everything they do, not just with the sports activities, but also just with the community in general. So this is Season 3, Episode 88. This is a Spotlight edition here for Romo Athletics on the Inside the Huddle, and it is brought to you by Home Sweet Mo Properties. Again, they sponsor all of our Spotlight editions where we talk about special light players, senior nights, senior signings, all the community activities we talk about. We put that under the spotlight. So again, thank you to Home Sweet Mo Properties. Today, as I said, Season 3, Episode 88, we have the new athletic director, Shannon Snitker. Coach, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
I tell you, man, we were so excited. The Brown family was really excited when Cabby, had announced his retirement, and man, you had already been in position to be the assistant athletic director. We were all hoping that was going to happen. But again, you never know, and there's always challenges with that. But man, we are so happy to have you in that role. So man, congratulations.
I appreciate it. I'm really excited for my new role. Just kind of look at myself as a colleague to the other coaches to try to help them better their programs best I can, and hopefully with the short 5 years I've been at Rolla, I've been able to establish myself as a person of integrity and somebody that works hard so that they can respect things that I have to say, suggestions, those types of things. The kid relationship part has always been something that I've been fortunate to have. So it'll be fun developing the same relationship with the coaches and hopefully being able to lead them as best I can to, improve, continue to grow Rolla athletics and activities as well.
Oh, that's great. You already have that relationship. Again, you've been on staff here in multiple sports. Just this year, you were most influential teacher for, I think, Paxton Ledbetter, was it?
Yep.
It picked you out there for that. So that's a great testament. So let's go back to the early years. Let's go back to Shannon Snitker, coming up through high school into college. So Owensville High School, you were a Dutchman.
Yep, graduated from Owensville in 1996.
Oof.
I played basketball and baseball there. Basketball might have been my favorite sport, but I was gifted by the man up above with baseball talent, so ended up playing fairly high-level college baseball and had a really good career, and it was a blast.
So you went to Lincoln University.
Went to Lincoln University.
And at that point, I think they were like second in the conference or something when you were there. Because Central Missouri was really good too back then.
So Warrensburg were perennial powers at the time. My first year, our coach, I think it was like his second year there, has started building the program. First year, I think we were a little under 500. Second year, we had a really good year. My sophomore year in college, went on to play for the MIAA championship. Warrensburg beat us and went on to win a national championship that year. Had a really good third year in college as well, and then had a little unfortunate labrum injury my senior year. But I really cherished those times and fortunate to be able to do those things. My wife was kind of instrumental in that. We started a family fairly young, so it was good to be able to do that and experience those things that have helped with some leadership stuff and those types of things.
Now, you're a 2-year captain there at Lincoln. So your sophomore year, you were 11-2 your sophomore year. Mm-hmm. Went back and looked at that. You led the MIAA in innings pitched. Yes. So you were 11-2. You pitched 99.3 innings, like over 7 a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was very fortunate. I don't know. I can kind of consider myself a Bulldog as a starter. I like to finish what I start. So I started the season 10-0 with 8 complete games. So I had a very good season my sophomore year, and it led to some, decent accolades.
Yeah, All-American as a sophomore.
Yep.
Absolutely crazy. And what was amazing, I was back searching articles. I'm looking at stats. I'm pulling these things up. And you know, like I finally, it took me forever, and I finally found a picture of you in your playing days. So that was kind of cool. Glad to see you. Apparently, that was a little older than I thought. The handlebar mustache was a great look back there. And so I thought that was kind of a fun little thing. I pulled that one up.
So no, I was really fortunate. My college coach was awesome to work with, and like I said, I had a great time. I mean, I love when kids, you know, try to further education, but athletic careers as well, because you know you can learn so much there about yourself once you move from where you're from. You know, it's an adjustment that you're going to have to make in life at some point, and you know, just teach you how to handle those situations, I think.
Yeah, and that is true. I mean, it's the life lessons you get from an athletic experience, the different demographics you're dealing with, the challenges of being an elite player at your high school now into a setting where there's other elite players. How do you challenge? How do you deal with controversy? How do you deal with adversity? Coaches, or and again, back then, those weren't the kind-hearted coaches with all the it was a little bit different, right?
Yes, it was.
So you graduated, and you ended up going and working in the prison system.
I did.
And you were the kind of like the recreation coordinator. So I guess my first question: were you an employee of the state system, or were you an inmate?
Well,
was it a job shadow?
Fortunately, I was an employee
Okay.
of the Missouri Department of Corrections for 6 years. And I tell people this, and they laugh a lot of times, but that was probably the last 5 years was one of the most fun experiences that I've had in working, honestly. I learned a lot about respect, when to say something, when not to say something. I did a very good job of learning people skills and how to deal with people who have nothing to lose, and it's always good to be a listener first, and then try to make a wise decision based on what you're hearing and move forward. Try not to overreact to many things, and just try to be calm and steady and consistent. I think those are some attributes that I try to I guess live by. And coaching, to some extent, I think maybe some of the players think I'm pretty intense, but it's for their own good, and I loved coaching as well. So it kind of led me into learning how to deal with kids, and I guess talking to people and being able to talk to people about there's other sides to things, because I got to see it firsthand. So it was I honestly consider that 6 years I worked for the Department of Corrections as probably one of the biggest learning experiences of my life. In there every day with those guys, like I said, for the most part, they're just like anybody else, but just made a mistake.
Yeah, the lessons on how to deal with people, deal with challenge, prepare yourself. You said it perfectly. It translates so well into coaching and education if you want to do it right. And I think that's the impact you've had, again, talking firsthand to the players that have come up through. You've been a firm coach. You had standards. You would not accept anything less. And they responded to it. They saw that as nothing but caring for them, setting structure, setting boundaries, and then reinforcing it. I think about some of the teams I've watched you coach that might have been lacking a little talent, but by gosh, they really worked. They worked hard on defense. They were in every game. They competed in every game. Didn't have the ability maybe to put the ball in the hole as much as you would like, but the way they worked was really a testament to what you were able to get out of them and get them to buy into and take advantage of their strengths. So let's talk about, you left there and you went to high school and you decided you're going to teach and coach. So what was it that triggered that says, hey, I want to get I want to get into coaching and go into the high school level for that?
Well, I was fortunate to know a couple people at St. James. My wife was working there at the time. Coach West, big mentor of mine.
Phil West,
yes, he's a great human being. Took me on. Kind of knew me from high school, and he coached in Bell for a couple of years with a good friend of mine, Terry Wells, and just kind of got to know me, personally, and I wanted to work for him. If I was going to work for anybody, I wanted to work for him because I knew he'd have my back and trusted me to be able to do what I needed to do for kids, and I wouldn't trade anything for the world. It's worked out really well. So I've had some really, really good mentors. In coaching, honestly, Greg Harlan, Ben Smith, Terry Wells, Coach West, Coach Cabby, and then here, Coach Frank's welcomed me with open arms, and so did Coach Miller. So, extremely blessed, honestly. Always had good coaches growing up, so I think that makes a big difference as well. Kind of knowing what they expected of me, and they were kind of firm, but I always knew that they believed in me. Because you can give a kid belief. That's kind of what I want to do here. Give a kid belief, even if they're not the best player on the team. They can have a role. They can work hard. You can pick out the good attributes of those kids and grow those, even if they're not on the court or the field the whole time. So I'm a big believer in those things. That's why I try to instill in the kids. I think that's why relationships are, something that come to me somewhat easily as far as kids go. Parents, I've been pretty fortunate, honestly, as well. I can't complain about that either.
I'm sorry about
20
that.
years.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the call we had earlier.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to say that.
But no, it's good. So
you went to St. James. You were a Dutchman, so you go to the conference rival, and you had was that hard to do at all, to be at the rival school?
Not by then. Probably early on when I got out of college, probably would have been a little bit, but I'm pretty well bled orange and black. But like I said, when you go into a good spot with good people that have your back, it's pretty easy to adjust and have the belief and just start working hard for those people. And I really, really enjoyed the kids at St. James. I mean, I lots of them just, they blessed me more than I blessed them.
So you coached baseball there. You had baseball coach, again, going back into kind of where your strength was. But you also helped out, I think, in football and basketball as well.
Yeah.
Then you come into Rolla. And so you make a transition. You come over here. You come in, bigger school system, more opportunities. And then you took on a role as an assistant football coach and assistant basketball coach, coaching the freshmen. So at what point did you start thinking, okay, I want to be in administration versus just the kind of the coaching teaching?
I don't know, Tom. That's a tough question for me because, I know what athletics did for me. I moved 5 times growing up. So had I not had football, basketball, and baseball, right, things probably could have turned out a lot different for me. I grew up in a big city. I grew up in Denver basically most of my life, and gave me great opportunities to play against great competition. But as far as becoming the athletic director, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if that was ever a dream of mine starting out as a coach. But after coaching and having a really good one, right, in Coach West, and seeing how he could influence things, I guess probably, later on in my career at St. James, I was there for 13 years. Probably the last couple of years, I really, Coach Harlan got into administration and become the athletic director, and I kind of got to see some behind-the-scenes things because me and him were really good friends. Got to see some kind of behind-the-scenes things of how things operate, and, thought he did a really good job, and thought, man, that'd be a cool role to try to end your career with, to be able to promote, athletics and activities, and, make school an environment where kids can want to come because of the people that they get to interact with on a daily basis other than their teachers, right? So that's what I really want. And I guess some of that may even stem back to working in the prison for 6 years. I think if, a couple of those people in there would have had different opportunities with coaches or something like that, I think maybe, they wouldn't have been in the position they were in. Yeah. So I guess it would kind of stem back to that. And then, just trying to make a place where you're at the best you can possibly make it. That's, I don't know. That's how I was raised. My parents were awesome people, are awesome people. They started out very young. They worked their butts off for me and my brother, and, just instilled those characteristics, and hopefully we can get some stuff accomplished here. I got 10 years if they'll let me stay here that long, and hopefully we can get some really good things done in that amount of time before,
Well, definitely.
we try to do something else.
You look at the impact, right? So as a coach, you impact your team, and then there's a ripple effect to maybe family, parents, fans, a little bit. But you move into that athletic director role where, okay, now you're touching so much more. Your impact is more significant. And I think that works well with your story and how you want to impact those things, and that you can then have and deliver on a larger community. So you've been an assistant AD here for 3 years. That was a brand new position.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure it was custom fit for you. And I don't want to, but let's be honest. When they're looking at it, they're saying, hey, you're going to be a good fit for this. Let's bring you in, let you start off with the junior high, focus on their activities, and then also involved in the high school activities. So what was that like? How did that kind of come about? And was that like a no-brainer for you to say, yeah, I'm gonna do that?
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited when they, opened the position up. I'm pretty sure there were 5 or 6 of us here in district that applied for it. Fortunate enough to get it. I just wanted to learn the position is what I wanted to do, right? Because I want to be an athletic director, here or, wherever. So fortunately, I'm in that role now, but learning under Coach Cavallero, he basically turned me loose, honestly, at the junior high and kind of let me handle things there. Probably sounds simple to people, on a Facebook page or something like that or channel that, but I want to take a few things off the coaches' plates to make it to where they could more concentrate on coaching. I mean, just little things coming in at, the first day of practice and making sure I took care of all the physicals and they have to worry about it. Make sure every kid could go participate that was there and they could just worry about whatever they're getting ready to do for that day. And then any kind of question or concern, leading the parent meetings, all those things, to where they didn't have to. I wanted people to see my face there, so if it was a problem that they didn't have to deal with, they could come and talk to me and were comfortable that I'd be able to handle the situation. So just some very basic things like that. I tried to do it at the junior high. Scheduling was a real challenge my first year. We were fortunate the last couple to have significantly more games, not full schedules everywhere, but a lot better. And I think now that we're transitioning to the conference, I think the junior high scheduling will be pretty well set. So that makes, just because of some meetings we've had already with the conference to help everybody out so we can have full schedules.
That'd be great.
That'll be really good. And then transitioning into this job after it was posted, interviewing for it, being fortunate to receive it, I just feel extremely grateful, honestly, to be able to be in the position. The support that the coaches here gave me, I mean, I didn't go ask for it, really. Hopefully it was what they saw in me the 5 years I've been here as a coach and a person that led me to be able to, I don't think anybody else as a coach here applied for the job. So they all, sent me numerous emails and things like that of encouragement and all those things, and they were happy. And then when I was fortunate enough to get the job, they, I think we've kind of rallied a little bit, and it's been really good. I mean, 2 days technically into it.
Yeah, I was going to say, July 1st is the starting day.
Yeah. So, again, I'm looking forward to the challenge and trying to grow a lot of things. Coaches, I don't know how far you want me to go here, but I'm a big-time multi-sport athlete type guy. I think kids should, try everything, and so that, they have a possibility like I did. If I would have just played what my favorite thing was, then, probably wouldn't have been able to go play college basketball or whatever. I mean, and was fortunate that my coaches always pushed me in those directions. I'm just a big believer in those types of things, And then there's some things that, have changed a lot since I was in school too, with, how you lift and, the specificity of sport has grown a lot in the last 30 years. And,
not everything's a clean, not everything's a bench press, not everything's squat.
I sometimes think back, man, what if I would have had this weighted baseball? How hard could I really throw? And I guess you could have made something up. And I used to love Nolan Ryan. And, he threw a football to, make his arm as strong as it was. But and I'm just really looking forward to moving in the direction of, helping our coaches improve some things here that I've seen, and again, just being a help to them so that they can really get down and just worry about coaching. That's really what I want. I mean, we can talk some facility things. There's everybody always wants and has wants and desires and all those things, but I think to start, I'm just going to be honest, right? we'll be able to tell the coaches this in the first meeting we have on August 20th, but, we need to do a little better job of taking care of what we have right now so that when we do go ask for some things that we need, then, the upper administration will be on board and know that we're going to take care of it and those types of things, and not always have to rely on, other people to come help us or whatever. Right. I'm big on getting in there and, if you got to do a little extra yourself to make it how you want it, so that when you do ask for something, then they know you're going to take care of whatever the community decides to spend money on in whatever way that looks or however that looks, So, there's some things that we need, and I think there's a right way to go about it, and I hope I get the chance from the community, parents. I think the players and the kids that I know now, I'm fortunate because I know the 7th graders all the way through now. That'll be really fun for me, being over here and knowing the kids. I think that'll be probably the hardest part in about 5 years, once I have not been in a classroom with the kids and they don't know me personally. That may be the hardest part to transition. That might be the hardest transition for me, honestly, because I really, really enjoy interacting with the kids in the hallway and, watching them play sports and knowing their name and be able to, talk to them, and them, being able to know who I am to accept some advice, because if you don't know somebody, they come up to you and tell you something, it's like, you don't know. But right now, I think I have a good 5-year start to where that could be really good, so. I'm just super excited.
It is. It's a great thing. Before we jump into kind of what's next, let's recognize some of the sponsors. As we already talked about, we've got Phelps County Bank, 100% employee owned. Go to mypcb.com. You can find out more of them. Appreciate them being the title sponsor. Home Sweet Mo Properties, Jared and Danielle Jordan over there. The kids been involved in sports activities, golfers, big time. Appreciate them being our spotlight sponsor. Taylor Chrysler, they are our Coach Talk sponsor. So when we talk to our coaches, they sponsor that. Appreciate Jeremy Shelton over there making that happen. RJ Pest Control, they are 30-plus years of hometown family business, calling for all your needs. Juan Skills Academy, the Juan Sports Complex, is not officially open, but it is starting. I know he's got some individual kind of workouts going there. Ethan will be there today with Kobe. Kobe's 2-time All-State Bulldog. It's going to be great stuff going on there. Jackie Morozowitz, In Full Bloom, backdrop rental, party decor, does such a great job with a lot of the events we have. Yes. And a shout out again to Jack, who's going to be addressing that shoulder injury he has today that kind of had a negative impact on going to be his football season, but he'll be ready to go for baseball. JP Maxwell, season ticket, 104.9, Tuesdays 5 to 6, just on there last night, talking about some Bulldogs and again on the national sports. Appreciate them as well. Last one I want to recognize, if there is feedback, you go to romoathletics.com. Love to have feedback. You can scan this QR code, provide feedback, what you're seeing out there and what you'd like to see more of. All right, so Coach, 27-28 school year, we're back to the Ozark Conference, Ozark Conference 2.0, maybe it's 3.0, maybe 4.0, because we've been in there a few times. You got the new turf out on the field. It's looking good. What other plans are still in the infrastructure stage or in the planning stage that are expected to be coming out over the next year or two? Do we have anything?
As far as I know, I've really, been fortunate enough working with some of the upper administration, and they've instilled some confidence in me to start working with, K&S and Sprint Turf and those types of people. Mark Matthews with Turf Mark coming to really, finish up the softball field in time for open fields starting next week. Some camp type stuff, and then working with the football field to get that thing finished up. Trying to again coordinate. We've got some improvements still that are being made on the soccer field. We still have a couple banks of lights that need to be put up on the soccer field. Baseball needs to be finished up. So there's going to be some pretty cool things I think happening during football season outside. Inside, not much going on that I know of right now, but I know we are going to start a committee as far as planning and, things for facilities here coming soon, I think in August. I'll probably know more about those things then. Don't really know a ton of what's coming down the pipe. Hopefully I get to, be in some of those meetings and have some influence as to what I think we may, need to move towards next. But I don't know, I guess I can say this now. When we were in the Ozark Conference meeting, the second meeting that we had in Springfield, they were going around asking people if they wanted to host a few things. And I know the Lions Club and Coach Cook have been kind of working together a little bit, trying to get us a cross-country course where we could host some home meets at Rolla. So
that'd be excellent.
Hopefully that's kind of in the works, and we can work closely with them, and are super grateful that they're willing to work with us to be able to hopefully make that happen. And I think in 27-28, if we can get that done, we'll host the first Ozark Conference cross-country conference championship here. So a little work to be done there, but I like doing those types of things.
Yeah.
So in the near future, that's what I know. There's obviously some other things that I have in mind right now, but I'll probably hold that until we can get through the facilities and really well, and I can have a better way of saying what I think some of those things are, with a little more knowledge than just right
than
now.
perspective.
So,
it just that's kind of just on the side, but now it'd be a little more involved in it. So the soccer field and the baseball field, we were working on some drainage issues
with the city.
I
think the city is done with their part.
Okay.
So we're waiting for the crane trucks to go in and be able to hang those banks of lights on the light poles. And once they're done, then we'll get back to fixing them and repairing them so they can be used. So hopefully, I don't know if it's next week or the week after, the lights are supposed to be done. So then, hopefully boys soccer will be able to play down on the grass field where they like to play. And
without it being that lighting kind of struggle.
No, and it'll be nice.
And the new lighting out here is, it's high efficiency lighting too, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be
very
bright.
nice. There's going to be some pretty cool effects on Friday nights on the football field, because we did a little extra with the Musco lighting, and
nice.
There's
So
going to be some effects and things like that too. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Got to get trained on it still.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully I have some good people up there with me that know what they're doing with technology more so than I do. But I'll be a good listener. And try to,
we'll get some up there. It'll be good. So that's great. And then now there was a proposal to try to get a baseball softball complex and turf it all, and I think that fell short, right? And so now it is the softball field again had the damage during the tornado. It will be ready for open fields.
Yes.
Okay.
So the only thing left, I believe, after maybe next, Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe Thursday next week, we'll be putting the scoreboard outside the fence. The playing surface is already redone, outfield, infield, concession stand. Press box is going to be done,
And it's much bigger too, right?
It's
I think
going to be nice.
more roomy.
Yeah.
Like
The concession stand is nice. Bathrooms obviously will be brand new and nice. Press box seems to be very nice. I haven't been up there. There are steps on there. I think you're supposed to put those up Monday.
Yeah, I grabbed a rope and went up there.
Yeah.
I free
Scaled the wall.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. You should have seen it.
Yeah, but no, it'll be very nice. And then new bleachers, new backstop. They did some work on the dugout, cosmetically, nothing really other than that.
Yeah.
But
Structurally that was all kind of good and everything. All right, so let's talk a little bit then about the SS strategic plan, the Shannon Snitker strategic plan going forward. Again, I know you need time, but let's talk about wish lists that you have your wish list for facilities for physical adjustments, and then let's talk about kind of a scheme or program or things you want to be, because I'm going to just bring up real quick. 2 years ago, everybody brought together the all workout, the all sport team workout in the morning, which was huge because you didn't have to have conflict. Like you said, part of what you got to do is bring a whole program together. And then you don't want people choosing, am I going to go do am I going to do baseball or am I going to do this? The other thing you have in the challenges this summer is making sure the calendars are such that you don't have people competing for time. Everybody has kind of their allotted area. How do you adjust? How do you work together? Because I know historically I've You know, had kids come through the system. Sometimes it was really smooth. Sometimes you had, okay, we're going to make a change, and this camp shows up on a critical day that was always used for someone else, and now you have conflict, and kids are being forced to choose. So that kind of talked to me about, I think, where you're looking with the program. So let's talk about first, what are some, you know, if I dream a genie, you know, doing this thing, what would be your facility improvements that you would like to see?
First, again, right, I don't know if I should go this far, but one of the first things I would like to see is, you know, track updates and the middle school football field updated, and we need to be able to host a track meet, you know, on campus that, you know, can be run off smoothly with not having to walk or go to other areas for events and things like that. I think that would be one of the first things that I'm going to try to work pretty hard at, getting some I'm going to try to write a couple grants and things like that, since it is used by the community as well. There are some of those out there, so that's probably the first, since, you know, field house, new auditorium, new band rooms, new, you know. Well, a lot of places are playing on, you know, fairly updated facilities. Football, new turf, softball is basically going to be new. Essentially, I mean, the field playing surface was taken down, you know, 2 or 3 inches, and then all brought back up with grade with really good material. They did a good job there.
Will be a little faster grass than what it's been on the field.
That just depends on how short you mow it. Okay. But we might work on that a little bit too, just to, you know, like I said, infield baseball, outfield soccer, right, during season. You know, we'll use those sprinklers. And
junior high field, will that be turf or will that be grass?
Ideally, I would love for it to be turf as well, right? That would take so much pressure off this one here and would alleviate some of the stress that we've had, you know, from everybody, you know, activities, athletics, just with some of the construction that's going on, being limited the last couple of years, you know, as far as gym space for even outside organizations and things like that come in to be able to use facilities. And, you know, I want to promote those types of things, but obviously I want the high school kids to be able to have, you know, the best possible, you know, option that we can come up with here, so that, you know, we're competitive, right? You said a couple really important words to me. One is standard. What's the Bulldog standard going to look like? We're going to talk about that a lot, and then, you know, competing. That's probably the part of coaching I will miss the most, is just being able to get out there and, you know, not necessarily compete myself, but have kids compete after, you know, you've went through, you know, some tough, you know, practices and things like that, and watch the improvement and see how kids grow. But so, you know, that's kind of what I'm looking for as far as facilities go. I don't want to go much past that, because that's going to be, you know, that's going to be a, you know, 3-year deal down the line before any of those types of things, you know, will probably be able to fall in place, I would think. But that's kind of where I'm going to concentrate some of my time here, once I get my feet completely under me, with being able to improve those facilities. And then, you know, after that, obviously there are other places that need help as well. But again, I think we can do some things ourselves to help ourselves out too. And, you know, kids that's played for me from the time I was a first-year coach, you know, I always try to leave the place better than we found it. I don't care if it's our trash or their trash or whatever, right? We're going to try to do those types of things. And, you know, I think it doesn't matter what level you get to, in my opinion. I think if you would even look, you know, up to some of the best coaches in college, or the ones that are very successful, even in pro sports, I think there's some things instilled in the athletes that are working with those guys that they don't expect people to do things for them. Right, so they would want you know, they would want people to know that they can handle those things on their own. So that's always kind of how I've looked at it. And you know, I was fortunate coaching. I had some really good athletes, and I think you have ebbs and flows in towns, but from year to year, but, you still treat kids consistently, and you can still create a standard of leadership on your teams to where, your best player is, and I've tried every season I coached to, have a conversation with a kid that, I thought was going to be maybe a leader on my team, that, hey, we're not telling freshmen that they're taking everything everywhere. When I was a varsity coach, you're going to lead by example. I said, and then when you ask them to do things, they will follow very easily. Mm-hmm. You can't just, belittle and then expect them to do what you tell them. Yeah. Right. So there are things like that I'm just a big believer in. Hopefully the coaches will get on board with those things. I think for the most part, we do a pretty good job around here, but there's some things that, can be improved there as well. So those are just little personal pet peeves of mine as far as moving forward, that, I want us to be able to handle what we have very well before we start, complaining or, going to the school board or whatever and asking for things when we don't even take care of what we have.
So ownership would be a big thing then.
That's a big deal to me. It really is.
So you got ownership. You have concept of leadership. Mm-hmm. Kind of empowered students to be leaders. Yep. And anything else that you would say, like when we think about the standard, the Bulldog standard, the program that you would like to see, anything else that kind of right off the bat that you kind of have in mind?
Belief. Like I said, you can instill belief in a kid, even if it's not your number one athlete. I think that is huge. That's what makes them run through the brick wall for you, right? And even, I've been fortunate enough to have a good relationship with kids to where it might not even be a starter in the end of a game, and I know all of a sudden, man, we have a mismatch with this kid off the bench to be able to do this at the end of a game. I can think of a game this year that I coached in St. Louis. I can't remember the name of the school now. DeSmet, maybe?
Yeah, DeSmet, yeah.
I think we were down most of the game. Had a kid come in off the bench at the end of the game, got a big-time steal. We ended up winning the game. Yep. We're down the whole game, and there was a mismatch defensively, and he could press, and we put a little press on and end up coming back and doing some things. And, if you instill belief in kids, right, you'll get their best effort when they get on the floor and hopefully be able to, do what they need to do to compete and then have the confidence to go do what you're asking them to do, right? So belief is a big deal. Understand what you're asking them to do. You got to break things down, and for kids, I don't care how good they are in high school, right? I am a huge fundamental type guy. You can ask any team I've ever coached. That is, I'm weird. When I go to Mizzou games or watch the St. Louis Cardinals, me and my wife get there early. She's like, why do we get there so early? Because I want to watch them take infield. Yeah. I want to watch them hit fungos to their players and watch them field a ground ball. I want to watch the Mizzou guys, on the sidelines doing their feet drills and throwing a ball and catching a ball and just all the little tiny fundamental things that got those people where they are. I think that is just huge. It makes me passionate talking about it because I'm a firm believer in those things. And that how do you get an understanding of something? The fundamentals. So then when you get on the field, you react and you don't have to think, right? That's what makes you at your best. And then, determination, obviously, fight through whatever is going your way. There's obligation, right? When you sign up for something, give it your best the whole time you're doing it. Things don't always go your way in life. However, right, if you give your best, people will notice that, and it may help you in some other aspect. Grit is probably my favorite word. Can't is my least favorite word in the English language, and grit's probably my favorite word. So I always tell kids in my classes that tell me they can't, I said, that's worse than the F word. Don't say can't in my room. Yeah. Right? I do not like can't. You can do a lot of things if you're just willing to try. Yeah. But, like I said, if you're a gritty human being, right, people gravitate towards you and know that you're going to have their back, so they will have yours. And, and then you got, standards and sacrifice and all those things that you're going to have to do to be successful. But
that grit's a gravity,
strength,
man. It pulls you in, right?
It
pulls people 100%, with you.
Yeah. And I was fortunate a couple different times as head baseball coach at St. James. My best player was my grittiest player, and it's really hard not to follow somebody that leads like that. Yeah. It's just fun, because that takes that part of the coaching aspect off your shoulders, and you can start working on strategy and things like that more than having to worry about, being the rah-rah guy, right? Because they have a certain expectation, or they've set a certain standard that this is how we're going to do things. And, I never had a kid that didn't jump on board when it was kid-to-kid led,
Exactly.
And I think, like I said, I think that is a humongous deal. If you're really good at something, right? I always use my kids that were really good. Right? I turned them loose at a T station baseball practice. My two best players, here, you're going to take these 3 freshmen. They're going to be in your group. We're going to go through these drills. You're going to make sure they're doing the drill right. Why? Because you know how and you do it right, right? So, and, camaraderie, it just does all that, right? There's just so many things that, I don't know. That's just
I love it.
me.
I love it, man. I love it. I know that's you can tell the passion. So it's interesting. So one of the questions I put down here, I always like to kind of wind up, with a question, and you actually touched on it earlier, so it kind of made me smile. You're now athletic director. Which of the coaches that are currently in your program can match you for competitiveness?
Well, and here's what I'm going to say. And I'm actually going to name one. There's probably more than one, but I'm going to name this one because I got to work with him personally. And Coach Parker is a super passionate coach, right? And the reason I'm saying Coach Parker, and I'm not saying nobody else is passionate, because I think we do have a really good coaching staff, right? So I don't want to, be, saying that we don't work hard, because we do. But when he was putting things in the beginning of the season, right, he would bring his girls in at 6 a.m. with my freshman boys, and after we'd practice for about 2 weeks, and then we'd start bringing each other's teams in, and we'd start working with each other. And I think, I just really enjoy watching him coach his players. He has high expectations, which is, if you're going to coach, have high expectations. The standard you set is what you're going to get, right? So, you have low expectations, you're probably going to get low effort. You're going to get, probably bad experiences, right? You have high standards, then people can't say from the outside that you're not working hard, right? So I just really enjoyed our time when he'd come in, and we'd just, I'd get after my guys and he'd get after his girls, and it's always kind of funny, the freshman boy to the, varsity girl relationship the first 5 minutes of the scrimmage or so, but once those boys figured out that those girls were there to play basketball and get better, then it elevated my kids as well, and so I enjoyed those times that we had, and, I think he is going to do a fantastic job as my teammate with helping, progress things here. I'm super excited about it, like I said, because, I've seen firsthand, how he gets after it. Now, we have some very detail, fundamental-oriented coaches that work their butt off. They're, basketball. I was fortunate to, work with, coaches there too that work hard. So I've always been fortunate. Like I said, hopefully the coaching staff here knows that sometimes I may be quiet, but that doesn't mean I'm not listening or paying attention, because I guess I found that when you are a little quieter and then you open your mouth and it's something that's logical or physically responsible, or people tend to listen to more than if you're always the one opening your mouth or complaining or whatever, right? Make your words mean something, and think about them carefully, and and then again, right, you probably earn your respect faster. Like that's what I've been telling coaches, right? I've been asked a bunch of questions in the last 3 weeks, since Cabby retired, and hey, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Or hey, can we get some money for this? Or whatever, And I'm like, here's the deal, right? You get to give me time to prove myself to my superiors, so they know that, when I come over there, I'm not asking for something that we don't need.
Right.
All right. And once that happens, then I think the relationship will be to where, at least when I go over there, they're going to listen. Right. And so then we can start making changes, and, in ways that are going to benefit, our athletes and activities. I've really enjoyed. I've been working with Mr. Goldschmidt for Bulldog Pride Night already. I think that's going to be a really fun night for people to come out for football. And I just, I love all the activities. I really do. I don't care. Usually my wife and I try to hit most things that are going on at least once throughout the season to be able to just support the kids. So they, I was always a big believer in my classroom. I didn't want the kids to think that they were a number or a last name or something like that, I wanted to be able to ask them specific questions about, hey, I saw you in the play last night. I came and watched it. I thought you did a really good job of this. And then, it's kind of like, it makes them know that you were there and support them and those types of things. I can't say enough about my wife either. She's she's worth her salt. I will say that. Man. All right. She is the hardest working human being I know. She's been a great partner.
I was going to say, she's not just worth her salt because she puts up with you. No, she is a standard setter too. She's a standard bearer, if you will, for what she's done. Now she's good.
Lives and bleeds integrity, and if you want an honest answer, that's
She'll
who
give
you
it
ask.
to you. Well, Coach, hey, I really appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck on the new job. Excited. I mean, like you said, 2 days, but it hasn't been 2 days. It's been a lot longer that you've been working on that, so that's incredible. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Thank you to Home Sweet Mill Properties for being our Spotlight Edition sponsor, and as always, Phelps County Bank being our title sponsor. Appreciate them. Coach, man, I wish you nothing but the best. Enjoy the 4th.
Yes. And everybody needs to do that.
Yeah,
I'll be ready to go on Monday.
Be ready to go. Let's get it done. So, for Coach Shannon Snitker, the new athletic director here at Rolla High School, I'm Tom Brown. From inside the huddle to the heart of the game. We'll see you next time.